Hello, everyone, and I hope you're all well. My name is Tanner Dajne, and I'm the host of Self-Sabotage Solutions. On this podcast, it's my opportunity and my pleasure to be able to share everything I know about self-sabotage so that you can overcome self-sabotage in your life. Now, today I'm going to be talking to you about habits because habits are so important in our life, and a lot of people somewhat understand them, but don't really understand why they happen. So I'm going to talk about why habits can be hard to break. Why are humans creatures of habit in the first place? Why do they form, and why are they important? And how long does it take to form a habit, which is very varying? And then methods and techniques you can use to break habits and form new ones. So it's going to be a great episode for this podcast. So thank you for joining, and we'll get right in. So, first off, why are humans creatures of habits? Essentially, what's the purpose of habits, right? Well, habits are formed because they're essentially like programs in our subconscious mind. And let me talk a little bit about the subconscious mind because I think it's important we talk about this part of our mind because that's where a lot of our habits are formed, and that's where a lot of our habits get their playtime, I guess you could say. Their program playtime, right? So that'll make more sense once I explain a little bit more. So there's two parts of our mind. And we'll just keep it simple because there's actually a couple different parts of our mind, but the two main parts of the mind I want you to think about: the conscious mind, which is the part of your mind that's logical, that is has long-term thinking, has your goals, your aspirations, and this part of your mind is a part that most people know about. Now, there's the part of your mind, the subconscious or the unconscious. This part of your mind is below your consciousness, so usually you don't see its inner workings unless you really understand, how it works. Then you can kind of see it all around you. So your subconscious mind, this part of your mind is not, it's like the opposite almost of your conscious mind, right? It is not logical. It can't tell the difference between good and bad. It is not a long-term thinking part of your mind. It's a short-term thinking part of your mind. This part of your mind doesn't really store your dreams or your goals. What it stores is data or information, right? It is constantly scanning your environment, and it scans your environment at a very high rate. Like it's ridiculous how high. It's like 11 million pieces of information per second. And the conscious mind is only at 40 pieces of information per second. So it's a huge difference, right? Your conscious mind, we think we can pull up a lot of information with our conscious mind, and 40 pieces of information a second is pretty decent. But your subconscious mind just kind of blows it out of the water. And that's because this part of your mind, its main goal is to kind of, or not kind of, its main goal is to keep you safe within society so that you can survive. That's its main goal. And like I said, it can't tell the difference between good and bad. So really what it bases on is what it considers safe is based on what everyone else is doing in their life. So it might be, everyone else is drinking coffee and eating fast food. Well, that would be what's considered safe. Even that if that's going to leave you towards some maybe unhealthy habits and maybe towards some getting sick all the time and having low energy, it doesn't matter because this part of your mind can't tell the difference between good and bad, right? So yeah, this part of your mind is constantly scanning the environment, saying, this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is bad. And then after it's learned, it starts to create what I like to call programs. And these programs, you can kind of think of your subconscious mind as like a supercomputer because that's kind of what it is, right? So this part of your mind, subconscious, has different programs loaded onto it that it's learned. And it's essentially installed these programs and downloaded the information from our environment and then installed these programs onto our hard drive or your subconscious mind. And then these programs play throughout the day, kind of like on a computer. How if you just had a computer with no programs, you wouldn't be able to do much, right? But if you have the programs, you can get on the internet, you can start playing some games, you can get on Microsoft Word, you can do different things with the programs, right? And that's the way your subconscious mind works. Your subconscious mind starts to play these programs. So, we have a program to go to the bathroom. We have a program to drive our car. We have a program to brush our teeth. And that's essentially what these habits are. These habits are programs, right? They're things that we learned that our subconscious mind said, hey, we do this consistently enough where this is a safe thing. Everyone else does this as well. So this is a safe thing. This is what we're going to do, right? So the more times you see something, the more times you do something, the more times you hear something, the more times you're exposed to something just in general, the more times that you, or the more likely you're going to be drawn to do it, and the more likely you're going to create a program or a habit for it. So the reason why these habits can be hard to break is because this part of your mind does not like to go away from what it considers safe or what it considers familiar. Because this part of your mind, if we go away from those things, then we're in danger and we're more likely to die or be outcasted from society. So it's a survival mechanism that our subconscious mind uses to protect us and keep us alive. And the good news is that this part of your mind has kept you alive and you're alive at this point. And that's an amazing thing. But the big difference is that, the subconscious mind is really important when we're kids. So we can learn everything we need to know. But once we're adults, this can actually hold us back because we can hold on to negative habits. We can hold on to negative programs essentially that may be like eating junk food or binge watching Netflix or consuming and partying or consuming alcohol all the time or partying all the time or staying up super late and not getting enough sleep or smoking cigarettes, all these different things, avoiding working out, just being lazy, right? So all these different things usually we're still holding on to. And a lot of times we form these in childhood because when we're children, this part of your mind, the subconscious, is actually even more hyperactive because, when we're children, we really have to learn everything. Think about it. We have to learn how to speak. We have to learn how to talk. We have to learn mannerisms. We have to learn how to interact with each individual person. And that's why this part of your mind is so important. This part of your mind helps you learn. There's a reason why kids can learn so quick. That's why people say kids are moldable. There's actually a quote from Aristotle that says, "Give me a kid between the ages of 2 and 7, and I'll show you the man." Essentially, what he means is that, um, you know, between the ages of 2 and 7, we form all of our programs, all of our beliefs. We form all of our habits, and so in a way, we actually form who we are because it's much harder to break these habits and break these programs after we are 7 years old because we're not in the theta state. Essentially, we're in our brain wave is in a theta state, and the theta state is essentially a hypnosis state because when we go into hypnosis, our brain actually switches to that theta state. And hypnosis, all it means is that your subconscious mind is more susceptible, is more aware, and is picking up on as much information as possible. So when you are in this theta state, your subconscious mind is hyperactive and is reprogramming itself with the things that it's seeing. So that's one of the techniques I'm going to be talking to you guys about how to get into this hypnosis state so that you can actually reprogram yourself more effectively. And different times that we go into this hypnosis state, because we actually naturally go into this hypnosis state when we're going to bed, when we're waking up. So we'll talk more about that in just a second, guys. So um yeah, that's why we're creatures of habit, right? To keep us safe, and because of the subconscious mind and the program thing, right? And that's why also habits can be hard to break because it's our survival mechanism. It's our safety. So really, how long does it take to form a habit? Now, when I looked on the internet, I've heard so many different things. I heard like 30 days, 21 days, 17 days. And then there's some things I just looked on the internet because I was curious to see what it would say. And pretty much I found numbers between 17 to 254 days. Widely different, right? Now, in my opinion, and everything I've learned about the subconscious, about habits, about programs, and really about how the subconscious mind works. So that's really important to understand why habits are formed and how we can actually break those habits or how we can form those habits. It's going to depend on what you do in your life. It's going to depend on what other kind of programs you have in your life. So for everyone, it's not going to be 21 days. For everyone, it's not going to be 30 days. It's going to be different for everyone, right? So what do I mean? So let's say you're trying to eat healthy. You're trying to create a new program or a new habit that you want to start eating healthier, but you have like a very ingrained habit in you to eat junk food, right? So you might encounter some resistance when you're trying to form that new habit. So you may not be able to be as consistent as you want to be. Usually with creating new habits or programs, we have to be very consistent because repetition is one way we can actually reprogram our subconscious mind or break old habits and create new habits. That's essentially what reprogram your subconscious mind. So if you ever hear me say reprogram your subconscious mind, that's usually what I'm talking about is reprogramming your or breaking your habits and creating new habits or breaking your old beliefs and creating new beliefs. And a lot of times our habits and our beliefs coincide. So it's usually pretty similar, right? So consistency, that's something that's going to change how quick you can actually create a new habit or create a new program in your mind. And another thing that's going to change is how often you're seeing things from your old program or your old habit. So if you're trying to start eating healthier, but you keep always watching commercials with all these fast food, all these junk food, if you watch your friends always consuming these things, if you have family members who are always eating this junk food in front of you, that can be actually impactful to you because the subconscious mind I was talking about is constantly scanning your environment, right? Trying to deem what's safe. So you might be sending your subconscious mind mixed messages. So instead of just consciously, I want to create a new program, a new habit to start eating healthier. Subconsciously, your subconscious is getting mixed messages. And remember, it already has a program, most likely, to be eating unhealthy because that's why you're trying to eat healthier, right? So you really got to be vigilant in removing those things from your environment that might be influencing you to be going back down to that old habit. And that's why sometimes it can be so hard to break these old habits because we are stuck in the middle between two things and we haven't removed those negative sources out of our life, those negative influences out of our life, that those negative data points or those negative um, things from our surroundings and our environment that are actually convincing our subconscious mind that, hey, we still eat unhealthy. It's still the safest thing to do within our society. And so we shouldn't be forming a habit or a new program to eat healthy when everyone else around us is eating unhealthy. They're going to think we're crazy. They're going to think that we're stuck up. They're going to think that, we don't, that we are too restrictive, that we don't even enjoy life. That's things I've heard about me choosing to eat healthy. Um, I've actually heard it from other people that, oh, you're too restrictive. How do you even enjoy yourself? And it's totally funny because I totally enjoy myself actually much more than I did before because I feel better. I have a more clear mind. I have more energy. I just feel more confident. I feel healthier, right? I feel more vibrant. So, the subconscious mind doesn't think about those things because remember, it's not really logical. So it doesn't understand those things. That's your conscious mind. So, you know, what you see matters. And something that increases the amount that your subconscious mind is going to want to be doing it is if it sees other people doing it. So it's best to try to avoid going to places that's going to have very like if you're trying to eat healthier, stop avoiding or try to avoid going to places that have all these places eating junk food and things like that. Like I don't eat junk food, or I don't eat like a lot of like that junk food and like artificial sweeteners and food coloring and all those things like food dyes and stuff like that. Like candies that contain all those things. If I'm going to eat some kind of sweet, it's going to be a healthier form of it. I mean, it's obviously still sweets, but it doesn't have all the things like the food dyes, the food colorings. It doesn't have the things like the artificial sweeteners. It doesn't have the things like the colorings and um, the chemicals that make it so you get the dopamine fix, right? It's much different what you're eating compared to those. But when I'm around people who are eating those things, my subconscious mind is kind of like, usually comes in and is like, I get thoughts in my head. That's usually how your subconscious mind can actually influence you. And that's where you encounter that resistance and that self-sabotage, right? When you're trying to create that new habit or that new, achieve eating healthier. Um, your subconscious mind will be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Everyone else is eating unhealthy here. Don't you just want a little bit of it? Right. So if I see like a bunch of people, like for instance, I work in a call center, sometimes they'll bring in like sweets. There's a lot of candy around. They bring in like donuts and stuff. And my subconscious mind will be like, ooh, that donut looks really good. Don't you just want it? Come on, you can just have one donut. You eat so healthy, you can just cheat on it and have that one donut. Um, and so I have to consciously interfere here. I have to consciously be like, no, that's gonna make me feel sick. That's gonna make me feel bloated. If I'm gonna eat something sweet, I'm gonna go home and get something that I know is gonna be much better for me, much healthier for me. I'm not gonna be putting that artificial garbage into my body, right? That's actually how you can. That's one of your methods or techniques you can do. You can consciously interfere, and essentially it's called destructive interference because you have one wave of like, you should go eat. Imagine it's like two different waves of hitting each other, right? So there's a wave right now that's um go eat this junk food, and that's like the thought that you're having. Go eat this junk food, it's going to be delicious. It's everyone else is doing it, come on. And then you got to send in a counteractive wave to break it and make it neutral and get away from that, going towards that old habit. Use destructive interference. So there's different ways you can kind of do that. So the different ways you can actually start to um, reprogram yourself or start breaking your old habits and forming new ones. There's a couple of things I'm going to share with you here. So there's one called the delete technique, right? Something I like to use when I hear a thought, I have a thought that I don't want to do, or I say something that I don't mean, or someone else says something to me, is I delete it. I I usually say delete, or I think delete in my head. I yell it in my head, and then I use my visualization, because visualization is very important. I use visualization to actually imagine that thought, that word, that phrase, whoever said it to me, or to myself. I imagine it on like a Word document, right? On a computer, on a program on a computer. And I imagine there's a line afterwards, like I'm just ready to type more or delete it. And I imagine a giant keyboard and a delete button that's glowing bright red, like shine, like press me, and I press that button and then just watch it delete. I just watch the delete button, or the phrase or the word just delete, and it's gone. And then I take it one step further and I create something. I type in something new. Imagine I'm typing in something new. So, for instance, maybe the phrase that I heard was, you know, don't you enjoy life? How can you even enjoy life like that, right? And make if you let that sink into your mind, it might actually affect you and make it so you're more likely to go eat that junk food again. But if you delete it and then replace it with like, I really enjoy eating like this, it makes me very happy, right? You can add in a whole bunch of different things. I get great enjoyment from this. I have an amazing abundance of energy. I'm always feeling ready to go, and my best health. I have a clear mind, and I'm ready to take on anything. I'm ready to take on the world, right? You delete what you don't like and replace it with something new. So another method or technique you can use um, is just to start taking things down from your surroundings. So, for instance, if you have certain things hanging up that remind you of a certain habit, if you are following someone on a social media and they are always posting, unhealthy food, if you're following like Skittles on Facebook, or you're following some other kind of junk food company on social media, and you're constantly seeing their advertisements, you're more likely to want to eat their products. There's a reason why companies pay like billions or millions and billions of dollars every year and every couple years to put their products into like place their products into movies or TV shows, or pay for advertisements, right? Because I know the more you see something, the more you're going to be drawn to it. It's really that simple. So start to take down those things from your site. Then you can start to create new visuals for yourself. You can create vision boards. Vision boards, all they are is just pictures of things that you want in your life, pictures of habits you want to form, pictures of new programs you want your subconscious to form. So, and they could be pictures with phrases on them that can be very powerful. So, for instance, if you want to start eating healthy, you can put a picture of a salad and you can say, I love eating healthy. That could be an easy um, portion of your vision board. Say you want to start working out, you can put a picture of someone who's muscular and you can say, I enjoy moving my body. You can, there's different kinds of essentially you're replacing an affirmation with a picture, and then you just put those things places that you see all the time. So you can put them as your background for your phone, background for your computer. You can print it out, hang it up on the wall behind your computer. You can print it out, put it on your fridge. So every time you go to your fridge, you see that. Put it places that you see all the time. So a couple things that I do is I have, I'm enough on my whiteboard behind me. I have I'm enough actually on a little canvas that my wife painted for me, and underneath my computer. When I'm at work, I have sticky notes I just wrote I am enough on, I am confident on. So I have a bunch of reminders around me, and we have different paintings throughout the house that say I am enough. And there's different things that we have hung up that we are reprogramming our minds with, and it's so important you guys do that. And then I started cutting out TV shows that had things I didn't want in them, like broken relationships, cheating, um, divorce, things like junk food, things like drug abuse, things like that. Because I know that our subconscious mind doesn't understand, can't tell the difference between fiction and reality. And so even remember, it's not logical, right? This subconscious mind is not a logical part of your mind. So it can't tell the difference between fiction and reality. It sees what's on the TV or on the screen or on social media as something that is part of our environment, part of our surroundings. So it's really important you also consider what you're exposing yourself to in the virtual world. So start taking away those negative influences, start bringing in new positive influences. So remember how I was talking about how there's different times our brain goes into theta naturally? Here's my next technique you guys can use. And the technique has to do with creating affirmations. And I created a whole YouTube video about creating these affirmations. So I will put the link to that in the description because I think it's really important that you guys listen to that and understand, how to create these affirmations, because you want to create affirmations with the idea of how the subconscious mind works, because the subconscious mind has very specific rules and very specific things that it understands or doesn't understand. So if you're saying certain things, you might be programming your mind or creating a new habit that you don't mean to be. So you create these affirmations, right? And then what I like to do is record them. And then you can actually play them back to yourself as you're going to bed or as you're waking up, as you're driving a car, a bunch of different places, pretty much at any time you can. But when you're driving a car, when you're going to bed, when you're waking up, these are a lot of the times that our brain goes into a theta state. So when you're waking up or you're going to bed, it's because you're going to sleep and your brain is going through different wave states to get to delta, where it goes to the deep sleep. And one of the brainwave states that it goes by is theta state. So at one point, as you're going to bed or you're waking up, you're very susceptible, and you're actually reprogramming your mind. And the nice thing about theta state, when you're reprogramming your mind, it can actually take a lot of the time off instead of just doing tons of repetition. And usually still do repetition because it's really powerful when you pair repetition with hypnosis or the theta state. But it can actually quicken the amount of time that you need to create that new program or to reprogram your subconscious mind for something better. So yeah, you listen to that when you're going to bed or when you're waking up. Now, if you ever watch the TV as you go to bed and you fall asleep with the TV on, I highly recommend you avoid doing that. For the same reason why affirmations are powerful here, listening to the TV is very powerful as well. It can actually program you in a bunch of different ways that you don't know and are very can be very negative because a lot of the things on TV are negative. A lot of things have very hidden subliminal messages, which really just means messages that go into your subconscious without us knowing consciously. So things that are kind of hidden. Because remember, we only pick up 40 pieces of information per second, but your subconscious mind is picking up 11 million pieces of information per second. So let's say you're driving by in a car and you're just driving and looking down the street. Your subconscious mind is picking up on things in your peripherals, picking up things that you may not be looking at personally, but is in your view, or you're not paying attention to personally, but is in your view. Your subconscious mind is picking up on all of that, right? So if you're watching a TV show and you're paying attention to the characters, but in the background there's a Coca-Cola can, or in the background there's a bunch of alcohol, or in the background there's a Starbucks, right? Your subconscious mind is picking up on that and saying, "Oh," and it works even with for things that you're hearing. So if you're falling asleep and you're hearing people argue all the time, you might be programming yourself to be an arguer or for fighting, right? So it's important you consider what you're falling asleep to. And it's really nice to be able to reprogram yourself and choose what you're listening to as you fall asleep so you can know that you're programming yourself towards something better. Now, if you don't want to do that affirmations, there are different hypnosis tracks you can go online, buy them from a hypnotherapist. There's so many different hypnotherapists and hypnosis tracks. So, and I think there's some free ones, but if you're going to listen to one, I recommend listening to it first while you're awake, just to make sure there's nothing in there that you wouldn't want to listen to. And then start reprogramming yourself, listening to it when you go into bed, when you're waking up, right? Okay. And a lot of people think hypnosis is like, oh, I'm a zombie now, or oh, I cluck like a chicken, right? Um, Majority of times, I think hypnosis could possibly be that when people are very susceptible. I don't entirely know why that portion would happen, but every time I've experienced hypnosis, every time I've seen other people experience hypnosis in the way that you're trying to reprogram yourself in your subconscious mind for something better, I've seen people um, not doing that. When I've experienced myself, I was still awake. Sometimes I'll fall asleep, but most of the time I am still aware of what's going on. If I wanted to, I can get out of it, snap out of it, and say, nope, I don't want to listen to this. Stop, turn this off, stop talking to me, stop trying to hypnotize me. I'm done. Right? So you are usually pretty consciously aware for the most part, and you have to let it happen. And you can snap out of it. And a lot of times people do snap out of it. And so there's certain techniques to try to keep people in and things like that. So that's one thing you can use. You can start to reprogram yourself with the hypnosis. And there's ways to hypnotize yourself, put yourself into hypnosis. I've gotten to the point where I've just learned to do 3, 2, 1 alpha is what I tell myself, or theta. Alpha and theta are pretty close into a hypnosis state. And when I tell myself that, I go into hypnosis. I've trained myself to be able to go into hypnosis that quick, and then I'll go in and just start reprogram myself, play my affirmations, do something like that. Listen to a hypnosis track. Okay. So those are some really powerful methods or techniques you can use to break habits and form new ones. I hope you guys really understand why habits occur, why they're hard to break. How long does it form to take a habit? Like I said, there's not really a specific answer for that. So everyone's saying it's 30 days or it's 21 days. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think it's different for everyone. Depends on the circumstance. So making a habit for one thing might be different for another thing, right? It all depends on what kind of programs or habits you already have in place and if they're counteracting with the new ones you're trying to make. and how consistent you are in doing that. So use that delete technique, guys. Start to create new visuals for yourself, cut out the bad visuals, start to listen to new positive things, and do it to reprogram yourself. Oh, I never need to talk about why in the car it can also be like a hypnosis like state sometimes. Because have you ever like drove in the car and as you're driving there, you're thinking about all the different things you're doing, but you're not exactly paying attention to the road like you are, but you aren't? Or sometimes you get to the destination you're at, and all of a sudden you're there, and you're like, "Wait, how did I get here?" But that's because your subconscious mind has a program to be driving your car. So a lot of times that your subconscious mind it took over, you're kind of like in that theta state, right? So you're kind of almost like in hypnosis state. So that's important. And actually, one other time you're in hypnosis state, you got to be careful in is the TV. Yes, the TV is like like the number one. Um, I want to say it's like a brainwashing tool because a lot of times it's used to um, reprogram people for negative things, and a lot of the programming, the TV programming, that's why they call it TV programming, right? A lot of that, the TV shows and movies and things like that have a lot of negative messages, and I think they've been getting worse and worse as the years go on. So be something to be careful of, especially a lot of these kids TV shows and things like that. Remember, we're very impacted between the ages of 2 and 7. So something to think about, guys. What are you watching on TV? Cut it out. What are you listening to in the car? What kind of songs? That's another thing to think about is what kind of songs are you listening to? It's a lot of songs with negative messages and where people are just listening to the beat and they're like, oh yeah, it's so good. People don't even know what they're saying in the songs a lot of the time. Like what's the actual message? Or it's so convoluted, like just random words like a lot of these rap songs. And it's like, wait, what are they actually saying? When you think about it, you're like, why would I want to listen to this? That's why I've started figuring out when I listen to a lot of these songs nowadays is just like they're talking about like destroying their own bodies with like alcohol and drugs. They're talking about sleeping with 100 other people. They're talking about just like staying up all night and um talking about killing people, right? We don't want to listen to those things. Because I personally don't, 'cause I don't want to program myself to be drawn more towards those things. And I think it's important just real quick to make the distinction between like when you're listening to like people talk about killing other people or killing themselves or things like that. Sometimes it might not be like directly like you're gonna be killing yourself or gonna be killing other people. It might just be like you're being more likely to abuse yourself, be more likely to choose things that are gonna be harmful to yourself because your subconscious mind is like, hey, everyone in this society, when it's listening to those things, it's heard those things multiple times. It might be like, people in this society like to hurt themselves. I've just noticed this. We should try to fit in with them and do the same thing. Or start to try to pick fights with people. So like you might start picking fights with your significant other more often. The subconscious mind is so powerful, guys. So important to know and to understand. Remember, it's one of your actually most powerful parts of your mind. I haven't said this part yet, but it's about 95% of your total brain power. Makes sense why it's 11 million pieces of information per second compared to 40 with the conscious mind, right? So really start to consider these things, think about them a little bit, start to take some of these actions and to start to cut out those negative influences, bring new influences into your life. This is a way you can overcome self-sabotage. This is a way you can start to cut out those negative habits, break down those negative habits, and build up new ones. You can start to reprogram your subconscious mind for good things, for love, for abundance, for health, for success, for wealth. You can do it, guys. And if you need help, if you find yourself struggling, I work with people one-on-one. I'd love to speak with you guys, even just about the opportunity. I'll put the link down below so you guys can schedule a strategy call with me. I'd love to even just talk to you guys about what you're experiencing, what you're needing help with. I'll give you some solutions on the call. It's about like a 40-minute call or so. And yeah, we can just get to know each other a little bit. No pressure. You don't have to buy anything. If you get on that call with me, you can just talk with me and and see more what I might have to offer you guys. Anyways, I hope you all have a fantastic day. Thank you for listening. If you could please smash that like button, the subscribe button so you guys can get notified of my new videos. And I just really want to be able to share this information with as many people as possible. So please share with other people. The more times you guys like this, more times you guys subscribe to my videos, the more comments you guys leave, the higher it boosts my algorithms. That's kind of the way these social media things work, like YouTube, Facebook, the podcast. So the more comments you guys leave me, the more helpful it's actually going to be in me getting my message out there so I can help as many people as possible. So if you guys found this helpful at all, please like it. Please subscribe. Please give me a comment if you want to input what you think about habits, or you just want me to reach out and say thank you, or you want to ask me to make a podcast specifically for you about something that you might be struggling with self sabotage. So I'll also put my email down below so you guys can contact me about that, guys. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Thank you for listening, and yeah, get out there, start reprogramming your mind, start building new habits for yourself.